Are you ready?
Power.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party.
It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to this special edition of the Alliance Guys podcast on what night is it? Monday.
Monday.
Who does podcasts on Monday?
Not me.
I guess we do occasionally. Hey, I see a lot of my good pals already here, and it warms my cold, dead heart. I mean, I've seen Rick Del Santo from the Pro Wrestling Zone is here. Willie Bowen's here. Wrestling with the MMA's here. Ron Gibson is here. Like, this is my crew. Oh, and DK,
you have a crew?
I do now.
Well,
So, hey, we're here on this special night because we're talking to, we're going to be talking to the Excellence Champion, Korey Konstantine. Why can't I talk? DK, you talk.
Me?
You talk.
We will be talking to the Excellence Champion, Korey Konstantine, who won the title back on March 31st at IHWE's Old School Hustle. Joining us now, Mr. Korey.
Welcome to the show, Korey. How you doing?
Right. Doing good. How are y'all?
Good. So welcome to the show. First and foremost, thank you for taking time out of your evening to hang out with us over here at the Alliance Guys podcast. We really do appreciate you giving us your time. And what we're hoping to do tonight is to introduce you to our audience and introduce our audience to you, because I know that you have been around in the Southwest wrestling scene from everywhere from Mississippi, Louisiana, and of course the great state of Texas. And we just want to help put our spotlight on you and hopefully and showcase who you are to a new audience. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, kind of like you said, everywhere from basically Florida all the way over to Texas, up to Oklahoma. Everything in between basically is kind of where I've been running around for about the last 10, 11 years, give or take. So been at it for a little while.
Where are you based out of?
I'm actually based out of Austin, Texas now. Yeah, originally based out of, thank you. Yeah, originally based out of Louisiana, moved to Austin last June. So.
And we already have some folks in the chat who are asking questions. Matthew Underwood says, Louisiana, what promotions? And answered it, WildKat.
Yeah, I did. I had a little stint at WildKat for about 2 or 3 years. Actually, I think I have wrestled every promotion that Louisiana has ever had in the last 10 years. So my most affiliated most recently would be Pro Wrestling 225. I'm actually the Pro Wrestling 225 champion, as well as Elevate Pro Wrestling are probably the two most prominent that I'm in right now.
So let's go back. Let's go back in the way back machine. You said you've been wrestling for about 10 or 11 years.
Yeah.
What got you started in the world of pro wrestling? Did you grow up as a fan?
Oh yeah, massive fan. Actually, it's kind of funny, right? So when I first saw wrestling, I didn't get it. I didn't like it. My neighbors actually were like super into it, and they were talking about it all the time. And I was like, yeah, man, like I don't get it. I don't know why y'all like this. Fast forward a few years, then they weren't into it, and now this is what I'm doing. So, yeah.
What was your early exposure? I mean, what did you watch?
I'm sorry, you broke up there a little bit.
What were you watching when you did start watching wrestling? The WWE, WCW, Impact? I
guess 10, I must have been 10 years old, right? The infamous, I think what really caught my attention might have been the infamous Sable handprints.
Fair enough.
Hang on, there might be something to this. Yeah, so primarily I was a WWF kid.
Okay.
Jeff Hardy, I'm sure a lot of my generation will say, obviously, big time influence, as well as The Rock were probably the two that grabbed me the most. I've always been a Jericho fan, heel or face. He's always just kind of been on my radar. And then probably Triple H would probably round out like the ones that really had me hooked back in the day.
And then so the transition from becoming a kid who's watching the WWE to working in independence. I mean, did you start following independent pro wrestling, or how did you? Because I know a lot of people. When I grew up, I didn't know what independent pro wrestling was, and my first indie show, they did one at my high school gym, and I thought, well, that's weird. I didn't know that was something they normally did, and it wasn't my first. You brought up Jeff Hardy. My first indie show was a local. I live in Southern California, and there was an affiliation with WWE where they would send some of the talents to a local independent promotion called UPW, and so I got to see the Hardy Boys live, and literally with 300 people in the building. So it was like kind of a cool experience. That was my first indie show. What was your first indie show, or did you go to an indie show?
My first indie show was the first show that I worked.
Oh wow! So you had no experience with the indies before you started training?
No, I mean, I guess technically it would have been while I was training, whatever at OVW. I guess going to those would have technically been my first ones. But really, I mean, once I got back, I mean, Louisiana, my first real indie show that wasn't like higher production value or whatever would have been the first one that I was on. I remember seeing when I was younger, I went to like my cousin's dance recital. I must have been like 11 years old or something. And I remember seeing like a poster or something in this not convention center, but civic center. And I was like, man, that's strange. Like it says wrestling, but I've never heard of any of these people before. So I thought it was like old. And then I think like coincidentally, like there might've been like a WWF like canvas or blanket or moving blanket or something, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Just silly stupid stuff. It's weird how something like that sticks with you for this long.
Well, it popped you, right? Because you saw the WWF logo, so you're like, okay, this is gonna be good.
Yeah.
And was it good?
I mean, it was it was literally just something that was left behind.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
it was a cousin's dance recital. No, I don't think it was that good, if I'm honest.
So then transitioning from the fan and then getting into training, you said you trained at Ohio Valley or OVW?
Yeah. So I did the beginner class. So I was in college. I moved to Kentucky for the summer. Extremely hard to find a place that only offers a 3-month rent. Fun fact. As well as having a 90-something pound dog. Those two don't really mesh. So I was able to do that, lived there for 3 months, knocked it out with Nick Dinsmore, came back and went back to college and started wrestling pretty much like a month maybe after I got back. I realized, oh shit, like independence or a thing. I should probably figure out how do I get into this. So just happened to link up with somebody and just kind of got the ball rolling from there.
So it happened pretty quick then from training to your first match. It was just about 3 months?
Yeah, 3 months. I don't think I really figured out what I was doing until 2016, like 5 years in. It started maybe clicking. 6 years.
That's just called on-the-job experience right there. You're just learning the craft as you go.
Right. I mean, I was able to kind of like piece matches together. I was able to get good heat. Turns out that people in the South don't like attractive men that wear pink and are kind of flamboyant, so it's really easy to get heat.
It doesn't hold well out in the doesn't hold out well in the South, the more flamboyant stuff, which is kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, DK.
You got to watch the old Adrian Street videos from when he would go to San Antonio.
Right. I mean, you look at that and like Gorgeous George and stuff like that. So I mean, like I wasn't like super well versed into the older stuff then either, right? It's only like what have I seen on TV in my lifetime. So like now I can kind of appreciate. I was like, oh, of course it got over and made sense. Like that's what they built it on. So.
Real quick, I see some of the questions in the chat. I want to throw them up there real quick. Number one, we got Jim Fitz in the house, and he says, "What's up,
What's up,
Corey?"
Jim?
Yeah. And then Matthew Underwood says, "How many wrestling schools are there in Austin now? Where are training out of?" I think where were you training out of? But you said Ohio Valley.
Yeah. So initially, Ohio Valley Wrestling came back to Louisiana. Was with Rodney Mack and Jazz here and there for a bit. Finished there. Didn't really have anything. Then I went to WildKat for probably about 2.5, 3 years, give or take. Left there, went to Elevate, was kind of one of the trainers with Elevate. And then pandemic happened and, things kind of came to a halt. And then I ended up moving out here. I'll pop over to Rodney and Jazz whenever I can down at the Antonio. Outside of that, I know there's AAPW. I haven't made it up there yet. And then obviously Dustin has a school here, which was actually one of the reasons why I moved. I would like to eventually link up with them. And I think I have a good opportunity coming up in the near future to do
that. That's not the Nightmare Academy. That's
Road Wrestling Academy.
That's right, Rhodes Wrestling Academy. I know Cody does the Nightmare, and I'm like, oh, which one was that? Blew it. So then, tell us how, getting into Austin. I mean, I know for a while there was a lot of wrestling promotions in Austin. I know there's Branded Outlaw. There was the wrestling. I think it was Wrestling Circus, and there's a lot of other promotions in the area between San Antonio and Austin. How hard was it for you to find work when you first got out there?
Dude, it's still a grind. I don't know that I've actually wrestled. No, I haven't actually wrestled in Austin since I've been here. So I worked with Rodney, like I said. Primarily, I've been doing a lot of MPX up in Dallas, Metroplex Wrestling.
Right.
They run weekly. It's a great time. There's a lot of good guys that A, are there, and B, just talent. Like I put on Facebook either yesterday or the day before. This past Saturday, man, JD Griffey and Exodus Prime had an Iron Man match. Holy crap, dude. Killed it. So, generally Metroplex. I'll be working Smash Mouth Wrestling this upcoming Saturday. That's like Randy Blakely. I'm sure you've heard of like OP and all that stuff from, a few years back.
Lance Romance.
Lance Romance. Yeah, sorry. Kayfabe, brother. So that kind of stuff, yeah.
So then, how did you get connected with David Fuller and the Iconic Heroes of Wrestling Excellence?
So David and I have kind of been in touch for a few years now. Things just haven't always meshed out and just kind of played out. And then I was able to swindle him into bringing me in for Mania Week. And, one thing led to another, and I walked out with the Excellence Championship. So.
I was going to say that was a golden endeavor, huh?
Yeah. It went from nothing to all the way up. So, I can't complain. I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I look forward to doing business moving forward.
Well, as Alliance-Wrestling.com, the Alliance Guides, Alliance blog, all the names that Jay uses, we were honored to sponsor that actual championship match, and so it was exciting to see you come out of it with that, if I may say so, since I helped sign it. Gorgeous championship belt.
It is. It's actually, I like it a lot. It's relevant too, right? Especially with Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona back doing his thing, and he brought that internet championship to prominence. And so, the Facebook logo, the Instagram logo, I was like, I like this. This is a nice nod, and it's relevant.
What I like is that shiny, not shiny, but the green, vibrance to it really makes it stand out. And I wasn't there obviously at the WrestleMania weekend, but it just kind of looked like it belonged on your shoulder when you were holding it. I was like, damn, that looks good, man.
It goes with my gear. It was like it was made.
Right. Or did you wear your gear because you knew what was going to happen that night? Did you pick the gear?
I actually had literally zero idea what I was doing. If we go behind the scenes, Fuller basically only said that he would find something for me. He was pretty well booked up, and he certainly found something for me. So,
if I can share a little secret, I don't think he was originally in that match.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I don't think Korey was originally in that match.
I think the guy was. Yeah. There was some issues with some other talent, from what I understand, and I just have to place
that
right
typical call out. Hey, I can't. They call the morning of the show and go, "Hey, I can't quite make it."
Yeah.
And I don't know what the reasoning was, and I'm not going to speculate. So, was Korey like, "Okay, you wanted something.
Yeah.
We're going to put you in a match where a title's at stake."
Right. Yeah, which was totally unexpected, much less, walking out with it. So,
well, I always like to hear the story of the guy who's there, who's putting in the work, and then gets that opportunity. I always think that's a cool deal there. And my camera just went out, so excuse me for a second. I'm here. Go ahead, talk, DK.
Well, let me tell a funny story here. There's been an old story that Honky Tonk Man, who held the WWF Intercontinental title longer than anybody in one straight reign, because he held it for over a year. He wasn't originally supposed to win the title that night. They were actually going to put it on, they called him the Natural, but most people knew him as Hacksaw Butch Reed.
Oh, wow, okay.
And Butch Reed didn't show up that night. He just no-showed. And so they needed someone to fill in for him and to get a little behind the scenes thing. This is all out there now and everything, but get a little behind the scenes thing. They asked Honky Tonk Man if he was willing to go in, and he said, "Sure, but I'm not going to do it for just a short title reign.
Right.
Just be a joke." He goes, "If you're going to put it on me, I want to be the champion." And they said, "Okay." And lo and behold, he was able to get over enough and be hated enough and be jeered enough, and
greatest Intercontinental champion of all time.
And
people paid enough to want to see him get his ass kicked. That he held it for over a year.
Yep.
And that was a record that record still stands, and the number of days he held it stood for quite a while too.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. That's late breaking news right here.
Quite late.
And another news from 1986.
Man, was that long ago? Anyways, let's move on. So, getting this opportunity, having that title bestowed upon you. I mean, what does that do to elevate the mind of a young man who's wrestling? Who this is your bread and butter. This is how you're earning your living. What does that do for you in terms of confidence? Does it help elevate you? Do you feel better? I mean, I guess that sounds kind of redundant, but does that make you excited to be out there wrestling?
Yeah, it does. I think that, I don't know, I'm sure everybody feels this way at some point, maybe more so than others, that, you're doing the work, you're making the sacrifices. I've made several over the years, including incredibly personal ones, to go after this, right? So, what you can bring, what you have to offer, but you don't always necessarily get that opportunity. So whenever somebody does kind of bestow that on you, it means a lot to me, quite frankly, especially because, I have been in Texas for, close to a year now, and I'm just plugging away, but I'm still not getting everywhere that I'm trying to get. I'm not rubbing against the people that I want to be with. So I'm hoping that this spotlights it maybe a little bit more. And not a launching pad isn't the right word, but maybe elevate or put a spotlight on, right?
Absolutely.
So that's it. It means a lot to me to have that, and Fuller has a reputable name behind him. People respect him. Rodney and Jazz always talk about how he's a good dude. So, I mean, why not?
Absolutely. And I know that when Fuller was on our podcast, he mentioned that he was looking to do like a more distributing that content from that they shot WrestleMania weekend on a YouTube series that they're planning on doing, which I think is amazing because for anyone that was there that worked on that show, that's an additional spotlight, when it comes back on YouTube and fans can see it for the first time or see it again, they're going to see you there. They're going to see your match and have that opportunity to have that experience with you, even though they weren't there WrestleMania weekend. And I think that's such a huge opportunity for anyone in the independent wrestling scene, because you can connect with that audience like a second time. And
Right.
I mean, you already did the work, so it's like, okay, your actions will already speak for itself. What you did and how you competed and how you connected with that audience is now going to be replicated, available for YouTube or however people can digest it at that later time. And I think the cool thing about that too is it brings you back into that attention where, you know, WrestleMania weekend, now we're 2 weeks away from it, but before you know, it's going to be a memory. But the match that will be on YouTube will be accessible to thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that can watch it anytime, anywhere. And it's something you could show your, you know, potential promoters, like, hey, here's my match that I had at WrestleMania weekend. Take a look at it. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, here on this very channel, you can go see the first promo he cut after winning the title.
I did.
I tried to jazz it. It was a great promo, but I wanted to jazz it up. I wanted to put our stink on it so that everyone could see like the cool graphics and everything. I just like, hey, let's make this look super professional, and I did the best I could. I mean, it's good. It's a good promo. It's not you. It's me. That's the graphics. That came off wrong. I apologize. No, I meant that.
No, not at all. Not at all.
The promo is still money, and I like it. I'm not super familiar with your character, but I'm certainly going to look more for your past matches, what I can find on YouTube and stuff. But what is your schedule looking like now? Like, where's the next place you're going to be touching down at? Where are you wrestling next?
So next, like I said, I'll be at Smash Mouth Wrestling, SOS Lucha. I think they do kind of or Let There Be Fight. They do kind of a co-promote. That's going to be in Wills Point this Saturday. Like I said, OP, Lance Romance is kind of booking, running that. After that, I think I'm actually finally off a weekend. So I don't know. I might just do fun stuff around Austin finally.
Nice.
Yeah. And then after that, I'm back at Metroplex Wrestling on the 30th, which I do believe the innovator of violence, the landlord of the House of Hardcore, Tommy Dreamer, will be there that night. So that's very exciting. I haven't actually got to meet him in person. So I'm very excited to be there, pick his brain as much as I can. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people trying to do the same thing, but you know, even if I get 5-10 minutes out of him, it'd be worth it.
He's a guy that I really enjoy. I listen to Busted Open Radio on Sirius XM Fight Nation.
So you kind of picked up on what I just did there, huh?
Yeah, I sure did. I was like, you forgot the heart and soul of hardcore wrestling.
Professional wrestling.
The professional, you're right, excuse me. Yeah. And he does have such a mind for the business, and it's kind of funny because what we saw him in the ring was just a hardcore wrestler, you know, extreme wrestling. But his mind is pretty adept at telling a story. And man, I recommend you definitely trap him in a corner for a few minutes and you know, pick his brain on some of the stuff that he's done and how to grow, because I'm sure he'd have a million ideas for you. Right,
exactly. And then I know, you know, like anybody else, right? I mean, if you're in this, you're not just doing, I won't say nobody, but at this point, if you're in it for this long and if you're at this level of hustle, you want a bigger opportunity, right? So even if I can do one thing that maybe catches his eye, you know, there's always the affiliation with Impact, right? So just I'm keeping that in mind as well. I know it's not necessarily going to be a tryout, but if I can get that, or maybe say, hey, I like when you did this, maybe expand on that, that can always lead to even bigger and better things just on the indie scene.
Did you, when you were watching wrestling as a youngster, was ECW still prominent, or were you kind of did that kind of pass you by?
So I kind of got in, I tracked it down circa WrestleMania 2000.
Okay.
Somewhere around there. So ECW would have still been around, but it was always at that, you don't know exactly when it's going to come on or what channel it's going to come on kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if I happen to be up late, you know, for whatever reason, as a 10-year-old, maybe I was just playing, you know, NES or N64 until the wee hours. And then I popped that off. Then I remember coming across it like once or twice, and it caught my eye, but I wasn't sure what it was or anything like that.
So one thing that I'm always curious about, because I've been a fan of wrestling for such a long time, and obviously the Korey Konstantine character, I'm sure has parts of you in it, but of course it's a brand that you're building, it's a character that you're building. What were your influences for coming up with the character Korey Konstantine, and how did you get there?
So the character, it means a lot to me, right? For a variety of reasons, not the least of which was back in 2016. I was just kind of generic wrestler. I hit a real low point in life. So I guess that technically would have been 2015. And I hit like major depression, like to the point where, you know, my ex had gotten me like a wrestling video game for Christmas and I didn't even play it. Like I didn't watch it. I was just like, F this, man. Like I'm done with it.
Yeah.
So the character originally kind of came from like, this is it. Like, this is my one last gasp. I'm throwing everything that I like, not necessarily what people like. What do I like? So I liked, you know, at the time I was super big into Spider-Man. I was, Slipknot has always been a huge thing for me.
Okay.
And then Heath Ledger's Joker was always something that, I don't know, I just really, really related to. And I know it's been done to death in various just kind of incarnations of it on the indie scene. But bits of that kind of thing kind of is what was the genesis for it. So it was kind of something where I'm angry, genuinely. I'm depressed. So this is kind of how can I, rather than in a self-destructive manner, how can I do this in a productive manner, but still channel kind of what I've been feeling? And then the character just kind of evolved from that. And now it's kind of evolved into, have you seen the movie Split before? So
DK has.
It's super good movie. So it's affiliated with like Glass and Unbreakable. It's kind of like the middle one there. There's a guy basically has 23 personalities, or maybe it's not 23. I'm thinking Dr. Pepper. Anyway,
23
like it's multiple, right? So I've had various incarnations over the years, right? So I've had, like I mentioned before, like the narcissistic pretty boy kind of thing. I have that, and then people were like, I'm not saying this to be narcissistic. This is genuinely what people tell me, like, hey, you're a good looking guy. Why are you wearing face paint? Right. So I tried getting away from that. And I leaned into like, I like punk rock and things like that. So I've got like a drum set and guitars and stuff over here. So I kind of have like, if you see this shirt, right, it's got like all the various personalities on it. So it's kind of like I'm trying to migrate into figuring out, okay, how can I portray this now? Full scale, like unhinged but still polished kind of situation going on. And then now I'm having fun with it. Like if you see me at MPX, I'm doing all kind of zany, wacky shit. So
there needs to be more wacky shit in pro wrestling. I've said that since day one, and I'll continue to stay. I'll die on that hill. More wacky shit in pro wrestling. I know.
Well, if you saw the Excellence match, there was definitely some wacky shit finish to that match. No spoilers, but there may have been some guy on guy kissing that went down. So it's just kind of like just let it fly. I do stuff at this point.
Boris.
Yeah, hi Rob. I think it's important, right? This shit will grind you down. It can make you absolutely miserable. So I think it's important to have some levity and just to have fun with it. And so that's kind of also a direction that I'm going. I've been grinding my nose down, right? And I've just kind of been focused on the destination. And now I'm trying to take a step back. And if I don't hit that destination, I wouldn't have enjoyed the journey. So now I'm just kind of like, you know what? If I can pop myself, if I can pop the boys, if I can pop the crowd, I don't care. I don't mind making an ass of myself. It doesn't make a difference to me.
Wrestling with the MMA, one of our friends says there needs to be more punk rockers in wrestling too.
Well, we can. That's something that's being developed as well. I agree. However, looking at the general scene, I feel like that's almost kind of something that's just leaned on to an extent, right? It's just kind of like, oh, this is kind of my personality. So I agree that there needs to be, but I think that there needs to be another dimension to it. Not just like, here's my gear and it's inspired by this.
You just can't throw a Bad Religion t-shirt on and expect to get a pop from the crowd. You need to have that development. You need to have that character. You need to
some kind of, yeah. So like you mentioned Busted Open, right? Jericho was on it today, talking about his influences and how he kind of got to be where he was. He wasn't the biggest guy, but he wanted to have the biggest personality. So that's kind of going to be my philosophy. I'm not going to be the biggest guy. I'm not Jim Fitz. Hi, Jim. So I need something that's going to make me also stand out. So he kind of leaned on all of the frontmen of all of the bands that he likes, who to this day are still holding, he mentioned, the AC/DC and things like that. So I think it's important to pull in various influences, and if somebody's successful, there's a reason they're successful. So figure out what that essence is and then try to make it your own.
Now, you're obviously a guy that's in good shape.
I do all right.
Yeah, having seen you in things. So, I mean, you're right. You're not the biggest guy, but you're not the smallest guy either. There are people who I could trip and fall on and pin. And, I admit, as I've gotten older, I've gotten heavier. I used to be a skinny little guy, believe it or not. Now I'm 210 pounds. But getting back to my original point, you're a big guy. So, I mean, if I can ask the question like this, how tall are you? How much do you weigh? How much time do you spend in a gym?
Yeah.
What's your diet like?
So I'm the absolute bullshit height, but it's actually a shoot of 5'11" and a half, because why would I be granted that extra half inch to hit the 6 foot? That's why the hair is tall, because I look taller and I can hit that. And I'm about 195, give or take. 200 kind of fluctuates. I've been trying to lean out here lately. So I'm floating around like the 193 mark. Generally, if I'm in like a strength phase or whatever, I'll be doing about 5 to 6 days a week in the gym. 3 to 4 days of that's going to be heavy squats, deadlift, bench, and then, your accessory movements with that. Diet wise, I do meal prep. So I'm eating the same 2 things all week until it's gone. So if you're wondering what the menu is this week it's a taco soup and red beans and rice and grilled chicken.
I mean,
red beans and rice.
Yeah.
I'm in. I'll be over.
Yeah.
So then, with the diet and everything else involved, obviously there's a lot of monotony that comes with that when you have that same schedule, that same the same food that you're eating constantly. How do you break that up? How do you I'm not asking like cheat days, but like how do you survive that mundane where like you're in the gym 5 days a week and then you're eating the same food all the time? Like what's your release for that?
So there's flexible, right? I think that there's the myth that you have to stay within like, here's what you eat, you can only eat this. Like, no, man, like that's bullshit. It comes down to calories in, calories out, all that fun stuff. So if I know, for instance, like if I'm going into the weekend, I'm probably going to have some beers, right? Or several. And so as a result, maybe I won't have as many carbs earlier in the day. So I can still have that. I'm still hitting my threshold, but I'm just keeping in mind, like, I've been doing it for so long. That's just kind of like, okay, I've done this, I've eaten this. Let me throw that aside and then I can have this. So you can totally be flexible with it. It's just kind of being mindful of what you're eating when you're doing it. Also, sushi is life. So.
How is sushi in Austin, Texas?
There's a couple of really good spots, actually. Let's see. I think Mako Sushi I had not too long ago. Raw Sushi is also very good. So there's just a couple. Then they have like some really, really fine dining stuff that I'm like, yeah, man, the old wallet's not going to float that. So
now wait a minute. You're in Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas is one of the barbecue capitals of the world.
Look, waiting for this one.
And if you look here, you can tell I like my barbecue. So tell me that you go visit these popular barbecue joints and
I've been to one, but it's been a while. Here's my hang up, right? I'm not always the biggest like barbecue guy. I like the more fresh flavors, so I will do damage on a taco.
Okay, you need to move to Louisiana again.
No, because that's Creole food and that's just heavy. So I will pull up on a taco truck and do some serious work. Also, God dang, Torchy's Tacos is superb. So that's also kind of my go-to. Then they have a really good pizza joint I haven't been to. Now, I do like, to go back to your original question, I do like barbecue. I'm not going to dismiss it, but it's not generally something that I'm like craving all the time. I'm more so like the brighter flavors, more fresh flavors. But Black's Barbecue is really good. They always have a line like out the door, and then they shut down when they're out. So unless I want to get there for like 10 o'clock, 9:30 in the morning and stand in line, I'm probably not going to make it.
I can understand that. So now you wrestled in Texas for years.
Yeah.
That's my understanding. So have you crossed paths with like Sammy Guevara and Ricky Starks and maybe even an old host here called, I think he went by, what was it? A modern day guy or modern day hero or modern day something. Kevin Douglas. Kevin Douglas, was that?
Didn't get Kevin Douglas. I have been on a show or two with Sammy. Even just as recently, like as last year, he kind of did like a surprise appearance. I met Sammy and like trained with him before a show years ago. I'm talking like 2012, 2013. I think he was going by the name Zero back then. And so, I knew him. Ricky Starks, I've actually had a match or two with in WildKat. I rubbed up and it came across him sometime either early this year or the end of last year at an Inspire show. So, yeah.
That's pretty good.
I mean, just kind of peeking at your cage match database. I mean, I see that you've been in the ring with guys like Mike Dell and, of course, Luke Hawk and, I mean, the aforementioned Ricky Starks. But, I mean, even Fordell Walker. And, I mean, there's a lot of guys that pass through WildKat with you that, I mean, you've been in the ring with some pretty good talent.
Yeah, I've been pretty fortunate. A lot of times those would be like multi-man matches, unfortunately. So I haven't really gotten like those one-on-ones to really like kind of like test your metal. That's really a big goal of mine right now in Texas, right? So if you're familiar with Texas wrestling, I'm sure you are, right? Brian Keith is like top of the list right now, right? I'm debating taking a calculated risk with some things and exploring some other avenues to maybe, I don't know, crack a few eggs to make an omelet, if you will.
Sure.
So kind of take a risk. I don't know how it's going to go, but it's if what I'm doing right now isn't working, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. So
well, now that you got that championship, I'm sure there are going to be some people that will seek you out, or we'll get them to seek you out.
Yeah.
Because we know the Excellence Championship is going to be defended in some pretty good all-out matches. We may have the occasional stipulation for the fans to vote on, or the occasional challenger for the fans to vote on. It's actually going to be an interactive title. We're not just throwing digital media on it so it sounds cool. I mean, it's the reason those side plates have those social media things is we're going to be using it. And that championship will be seen across the IHWE social media platforms. And so,
I'm here for it. Throw it at me.
I think you may become more popular for other people wanting to wrestle you now that you got that green gold belt.
I'm in for it. Look, man, I think that Cyber Sunday and Taboo Tuesday were underrated ideas. So I like where you're going with this.
So I just found out that I think you wrestled a pal of mine from SoCal, but he was wrestling at WildKat back in the day, Locura.
Locura.
I think I'm saying that correctly. He used to wrestle out here in Southern California with SoCal Pro Wrestling. Even had a shot at Adam Pearce, the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion at one point. I thought that was kind of cool, and I know this is your show, but I was like, wow.
Are we talking about the same Locura by chance?
Maybe not.
I only know one. Does it go by Lucha Locura? He has a mask?
Yeah.
Okay, so right up in here, he just recently gave me this a couple of weeks ago. You mentioned cagematch.net. This was actually in a cage match. So we actually just had a big blow off to a feud in a cage match 2-3 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he left you with a parting gift, it seems.
That and 9 staples on the top of my head. So, yeah.
So you guys had some disagreements.
Yeah, a little something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Is the beef resolved now, though?
I don't know if it's squashed, but it's done.
All right, fair enough. Earlier you had mentioned your current weight, your height, and that kind of fits the bill of a junior heavyweight wrestler. Now, this podcast traditionally covers the National Wrestling Alliance, which recently reintroduced the Junior Heavyweight Championship. Some of the guys that you've stepped in the ring with have been involved with the NWA. Jay Spade especially has a number one contenders opportunity at the Junior Heavyweight Championship. Is that something that as a wrestler, like I know you're in Austin and it's not really close to the NWA, but do those kind of thoughts enter your head? Would you like an opportunity to perhaps maybe challenge for that title, maybe even challenge Homicide for that Junior Heavyweight Championship?
I mean, if you're not in it to be more prominent to challenge for championships, then why are you here? So the answer is absolutely, right? Anything on a national scale is absolutely on my radar.
Now that's a man that's got his priorities in wrestling straight. You know, one of the people that we at the show on the 31st was Tim Storm came in. Mm-hmm. Of course, Tim Storm's former NWA World Heavyweight Champion.
Yep.
He's still involved with the current version of the NWA. They got some people out there. Ricky Starks went through there before he went to AEW. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if you follow the promotion or not, but you know, they got some top guys in there now. A lot of the old ROH guys, the Briscoes Wrestling Forum. Of course, now I'm going, Rhett Titus is who I'm thinking of.
Titus,
is out there wrestling for him. The Original Kingdom, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett are out there still making appearances for them, even as they wrestle Impact. So, I mean, any of these people sound like people you'd like to take on, to be in the ring with?
Yeah, absolutely. You said Mike Bennett, and my eyes kind of lit up a little bit. He was actually just in my stomping grounds of Louisiana this past weekend, up at Bayou Independent Wrestling. So, yeah, absolutely. Matt Taven, also former ROH champion, right? So, I mean, why would I not? My whole mission is to be seen against other people, to test my mettle against other people who have been there, who have done that, who have buzz behind them. Why all of these names? Any name?
Did you have a chance to talk to Tim on the 31st?
Yeah, I've been running into Tim for, I don't know, at least the last 4 to 5 years. He was also heavily with the former promotion that's now defunct, at least in Louisiana, called Elite Championship Wrestling. He was down there a lot. They used to be affiliated with NWA as well. So I've been seeing Tim off and on for a while. I didn't really get that much of an opportunity. I think he was kind of busy making the rounds. But, you know, obviously always, you know, locker room etiquette, right? He walks in the door, you stop what you're doing, you greet him, you say, how are you doing? Things like that. Good to see you. So I didn't really get as much of an opportunity as I would have liked to, but yeah, briefly.
Well, I mean, I think it's so telling, right? Of some of the talents that we've listed, but some of the talents that are that you've had the opportunity to be with, Tim Storm and Rodney and all these guys who kind of feel like the backbone of Texas pro wrestling. You know, I mean, you throw Jack Stain in there, and back in the old days, Houston Carson, and it's like a who's who of Texas pro wrestling. Who is out there in your area? Who's in Texas that you would like to square up with? And what promotions do you see yourself potentially becoming an asset for?
So right off the top, I'm really interested in New Texas. Loco seems like a fun place to go. VIP, obviously, over with Lamont and things like that. Those are kind of like the top ones, top of mind. Heart of Texas seems like they have something that's going on pretty good, that's growing.
Yeah, that's all there.
So just off the top of my head, those are kind of ones that I'm looking at intently. If I'm looking as far as talent-wise, right, I already mentioned Brian Keith, Mysterious Q, Izzy James. I was lucky to have like a match or two with him back in the day. But I think now could be something pretty special. ASF, Barrett Brown. I'm trying to remember like my whole list that I had. I put out a list on Instagram like when I first got here, and I was like, this is my bucket list. So those are kind of just off the top of my head. Those are some that I'm definitely considering. Ryan Davidson, I think I had maybe one match with him, like a tag match way back in the day, when I didn't know what I was doing. But now I think would be also pretty cool. He's a hell of a talent, wildly underrated. So those are just off the top of my head. I think those are some for sure.
I mean, it certainly sounds like a pretty good list. And if someone wanted to catch some of Korey Konstantine matches from the previous years, I mean, do you have a YouTube channel set up or a place where people can find some of your old stuff?
I do. A lot of my stuff will be found like on the Pro Wrestling 225 YouTube, at least temporarily. There's some of my matches that I do have are just with private links right now. But generally, if you just kind of go into YouTube and just search Korey Konstantine, you'll inevitably find something. I'll be re-uploading some here before too long, as far as, or at least making them more available. Generally what I've been doing, just kind of keeping them private, sending them to promoters as necessary.
Right.
It's kind of a quality control kind of thing.
Sure.
So those are some of the ones for sure. Outside of that, I'll always throw up clips, follow my Instagram at Korey Konstantine, just like you see on the screen right there. Facebook, same thing. Twitter is Konstantine225, and Pro Wrestling Tees /Konstantine.
And you have a couple of different styles of shirt that are up on the Pro Wrestling Tees? I
do. I have this nice one that I'm wearing right now.
That's a sick looking shirt, by the way.
Pretty
I'm interested. I'm going to go look. I need a size 2X, but that's a dope shirt.
Yeah. So I've got this one, and I have one other design that's up right now. I'll be getting another one made probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Cool, man. Well, I really do appreciate you taking time to talk with us tonight. It's nice to meet you. I mean, we were really proud to sponsor that excellence match here at alliance-wrestling.com. So to finally get to talk to you, the guy that holds that belt, it's pretty cool. So we do appreciate your time here tonight. And do you have anything else you want to plug before we say goodnight?
I think that's really the bulk of it, right? So like I said, this weekend, Smash Mouth Wrestling in Wills Point. That's where you'll be able to find me. Moving beyond that, Metroplex Wrestling, Pro Wrestling 225. Those are the ones that are mainly on my radar. APW towards the end of May. That's up, I think, a bit north of Austin, if I remember correctly. So those are where you'll be able to find me in the next, call it, month.
Cool, man. Well, again, we really do thank you for your time and wish you nothing but the best moving forward. And of course, we'll be highly intent on watching your first title defense as that excellent champion. So we're pulling for you, I could say, here at the Alliance blog.
A little self promo here for the Alliance blog. We've talked to Big Fitz the IHWE World Champion. We've talked to Korey Konstantine, the IHWE Excellence Champion. And tell me it's tomorrow, Jay.
Tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Time.
Tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Time, we will be talking to the glamorous, amorous Blair, the IHWE Queen of the Ring World Women's Champion. So, I mean, you're getting a lot of Texas wrestling this week to our fans. And Korey, can't tell you how much we appreciate you jumping on with us. It's been an honor, and I'll let Jay wrap us up.
Cool.
All right, well, that's going to do it. So thanks for everyone watching, and we'll see you tomorrow night, tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. Central, right here. Have a good one, guys.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.